Hello again and welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. Coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. What the Papers Are Saying, we bring you conversations, discussions and analysis of the stories as presented by our colleagues within the media space. Welcome back. You're still watching What the Papers Are Saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. This week, a number of issues have dominated media discussions. And it starts with the viral video, which I'm sure you have seen, where a husband was in fact assaulting the wife. The police CID issued a statement on this and caused the arrest of the gentleman in question. He was arraigned, and then we are told that the charges, or some charges, have been run against him. So that is how the Daily Guide newspaper reported the story. It says, Ofankor wife beater busted. City Newsroom says, police remand suspect in viral domestic violence video. This week as well, the budget presentation dominated media conversations. Remember, the finance minister, Dr. Kessel Atofosi, presented the budget statement for the year 2026. And as we speak, members of parliament are having a conversation or having a debate on the government fiscal policy for the year 2026. And this is how the Daily Graphic reported it. It says, use budget as transformative tool, Speaker charges Parliament. Daily Guide newspaper, 2 presidential jet chopper to cost 13.1 billion Ghana cedis and attributed to Samuel Abu Jinapor. The Chronicle newspaper says Mahama to buy 2 new presidential jets and 4 choppers at a mind-blowing $1.1 billion. Samuel Abu Jinapor. Channel 1 News says 2026 budget unrealistic, cannot provide growth and jobs. Amin Adam, former Minister of Finance. Also this week, the OSP and Ken Ofori-Atta's conversation dominated media discussions. Again, it has to do with a petition the SML company has sent to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and also the decision by the special prosecutor to take the matter to court. And that is how the Daily Guide newspaper reported. It says, SML GRA contract, OSP, Ofori-Atta, 7 others in court. The Informer says, SML GRA $500 million deal, Ofori-Atta, 7 others charged with 78 counts. City Newsroom says SMS scandal, OSP to arraign Ofori-Atta, 7 others before court on Monday. This week as well, the media reports of a chieftaincy dispute in Ko in the eastern region. And that is how the Daily Guide newspaper reported. It says, police adapt Ko Mahima. Channel 1 News says, Ko incident, Queen Mother release, IGP launches investigations into police operation. This week, the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, had a meeting with the Christian Council of Ghana. They met at the Jubilee House to discuss some pressing national issues. And one of the issues that dominated the conversation was the LGBTQ bill, which is currently before Parliament. This is how the Daily Guide newspaper reported. It says, I will sign anti-LGBTQ bill, Mahama. Daily Graphic says, I will assign to anti-gay bill, President pledges, update Christian Council on key national issues. Channel 1 News says, I will sign anti-gay bill if passed by Parliament, Mahama. So these are the issues that dominated media conversations this week. When we come back from the break, I'll introduce my guests and then we'll start the conversation.
This Christmas Eve, skip the ordinary and step into the extraordinary. Welcome to the Situation All White Party 2025, where the music never stops, the energy never drops, and the fun never ends. Celebrating grand style with great music, irresistible food, and an atmosphere that screams good vibes only. Date 24th December 2025. Venue Good Park near the Accra Mall. Time 8 p.m. till late. Dress code, it's an all-white affair. Get ready for electrifying live performances from Kofi Kinata, Kwabua, Perez Music,
Funko Bogbeno, Enyela Yito Ikepan,
Inchin Band, and DJ Mingle. Wear your best all-white fit. Bring your dancing shoes and let's light up the night together. Book your tables now. Call 0205-973-973. It's Christmas Eve. Don't miss it. Situation on White Party 2025 is powered by Channel One TV and 97.3 City FM, and it's proudly sponsored by EcoBank, Bethel Logistics, and Hallmark Cafe.
Mini baby, mini baby,
You're welcome back. You're still watching What the Papers Are Saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafi. As always, I'm joined by two of my colleagues here at City FM and Channel One Television, Hansen Ajiman, with here at City FM and Channel One Television, and Salom Adonu, also with us here at City FM and Channel One Television. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
We'll start the conversation with the viral video of a husband beating the wife, which has dominated some media discussion. The police CID issued a statement in respect of this issue. Also, the gender ministry has also taken the matter up and says they will ensure that the matter is prosecuted in court and those found guilty will face the full regress of the law. Now, the lady in question, 32-year-old Harriet Amuzu, has been speaking about her ordeal to TV3.
Thousands once a born my and that year no go fire with the bob me name it him. Hey, blessing to drop now something is so bad. Come see me cool and go baby. I wish I have for wine. Move me and I miss Mr. So when you 2 minutes I trust. So book to the know them or stop me and them minister to bury our own many. Or the bubble bombing, we no quine until quarry and also at the full frabber or catching her, no go fast second. Or so means I say. So be charming, son, if you so made me then. See me so. Me brony, me men, me peco and I come a Tony, you know, Jamaica can me ye.
Harriet Amuzu, the victim of domestic violence, which the viral video, I'm sure we've all seen. The gender ministry has come in. The police CID has also come in this matter. Gentlemen, Hansen, I'll start with you. I'm sure you've seen the video and the subsequent, conversations about it. What do you make of it?
I think it's first and foremost is a sad development. I mean, even on a stranger relationship level, you won't come to the belief that a human being can be able to do this to a fellow human being, not to talk of a husband and a wife who have children together. And so it's important that it's condemned, that the powers of the state be used as much as possible to bring this particular gentleman to book, obviously allowing him also the opportunity to defend himself before the court of law, where the prosecution, having gathered enough evidence, will be expected to prove the case against him. And if eventually he is found guilty, the most important thing will be to have him punished. And obviously, as we know, of the essence of punishment, sometimes is to serve as deterrent. And so perhaps the punishment should be such that would deter others from doing so. But if you look at the scenario and information that is beginning to trickle in, obviously the first thing that jumps at you is a matter of love gone wrong. And then usually when conversations like this come up, you hear people say that the very first time your spouse hits you, that should be the day you should advise yourself, because if he hits you one, he obviously will hit you again. But there's a the difficulty with that conversation, and obviously I agree with the idea that walk away, but there's also a difficulty that people may not be able to walk away just like that because of perhaps love, or because of certain dependence on the other spouse, or even a certain level of control that is exerted on the victim. And so it is not easy to break loose from relationships such as these. And that's why the state ought to build proper structures. And so if you listen to the narration again, one problem you will realize is the problem with our institutions. And if the narration of the victim is anything to go by, she indicated that she's visited the police station, made reports. In some instances, they tend to belittle it. In some instances, they tend to say that, oh, it's a normal thing. And so in that instance, you get to see that the police, DOFSU, who have been established with the powers of the state to prevent instances such as these, has not worked appropriately in this particular matter. And it will also be a wake-up call to us in addressing the inefficiencies in such a system. And talking about addressing the inefficiencies in the system, the first thing I'll look at has to do with the concept of group homes. If you go to other jurisdictions, there are group homes, safe havens for persons who undergo abuse, for the meantime that they can run to where they will be sheltered, be given the basic necessities of life, and be helped to set a life independent of their abusers, while the system work effectively at bringing these abusers to book. Now, if this lady, the story she even tells us that they are in a process of divorcing, and then she went to her hometown.
Yeah, she stayed away for like 5 months now.
She was called that one of her children is not feeling well, and so she decided to return, only to find out that it was a calculated step to get her back into the house. If that evening, sensing the danger, she had wanted to leave to find shelter somewhere, we don't have such facilities. And so the state should be looking at building more of these homes that can act as safe havens to people who are abused, who are vulnerable in society, so that at least it can be a temporary measure to make sure that we're able to move them away from their abusers. Without the existence of such safe homes, it becomes difficult to say that the people should walk away when they don't know where exactly they are going to sleep or where the next meal is going to come from. But beyond this, we need to look at being proactive with some of these things. And the gender minister, the interior minister, and other relevant authorities should be interested in this. That why would one person make multiple complaints about someone and nothing is done effectively to address it? And so we need to look at the value chain, how we attach some level of seriousness to such complaints. I mean, today the lady might have been dehumanized, which is bad in its own way, but tomorrow it may be another person losing his or her life because we did not act effectively and decisively in dealing with domestic violences.
So there are many who have said that, why are we surprised, with this? Because it happens in homes almost every time, but just that this has gone viral. That's what we are having a conversation about. But deep within, it goes on and on in people's homes.
Well, thanks so much. Let me say, I like your looks.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a serious issue, really. It is. And we condemn in no uncertain terms any action of anybody that seeks to hurt, injure, or dehumanize anybody. It's wrong for a man to set his hand on a woman. Strong men don't beat women. Strong men rather protect women. So it's terrible for anything like that to happen. It's unfortunate that society is come to a place where it views such attacks on women as normal. That is where it comes from. And I blame squarely religion and culture for this. We have practitioners, or we practice faiths or religions that usually have a certain view about women, about the place of women. And culture also highlights that or underpins that. So a woman is seen as, quote unquote, second class to a woman. Yeah. And so anything that concerns a woman, sometimes a man must give the go ahead, or a man must give the permit for things like that to be done. So when these things happen over a long period of time, and in fact, it has happened over a long period of time, men begin to feel they own women, or men begin to feel entitled to women. And that, I believe, is the basis or is the beginning of the problem. It is wrong, and I expect that the gentleman in question is dealt with properly so that it serves as deterrent to the rest of the people. Society has failed us. Society has objectified women, and so they use women and treat women the way they want, which is very wrong. Society has failed to raise men, or a lot of men, who will appreciate women for who they are. Yeah. And so why will you set your hand on why will you beat a woman? Or why will you beat your wife or somebody? It is even wrong. You don't just get on the street and beat somebody. You sometimes exercise some caution. But to beat your wife in that manner, and in that the dehumanizing nature it occurred, I think calls for an examination of the person's mental faculties. That leads me to the point about mental health. A lot of the people we see around are not very normal, you get me? And people seeking help for mental health shouldn't be a problem. And again, society views people who walk into psychiatric homes to seek mental health, assistance as strange and treat them as pariah. Society has a lot of things it has to fix. The mental health of people is not correct. It's only a man who is not mentally accurate who will treat the wife like that and who will do the kinds of things we are talking about to a woman. It is wrong. Society has failed to raise responsible people generally in that sense. Society, has failed to appreciate the place of mental health. Society has normalized domestic violence against women in society. And these are the consequences we are beginning to see. And it's not new, like you said. It is, if it didn't mean that somebody recorded it and shared it on social media, we wouldn't have seen it. These things have been happening every day. And the sad part of it has to do with the state or institutions. So, for example, there is a reason why they set up Dovsu. It used to be Waju. Yeah. But they said, okay, Waju was about women. So let's make it Dovsu, so that it caters for both men and women, which is great. But usually, when you go to Dovsu, and I don't blame them really, it stems from our culture. Instead of dealing with things a certain way, they rather want to repair the problem, which is great, because they are not there to separate people. They are there to make things work. So oftentimes somebody reports, they treat it the same way they treat things. I believe their training should let them be able to see the differences between someone who is in danger and someone who is just having issues. If a man tells you, I'll kill you, and the woman comes to report Adofsu, you don't just treat it as normal. You don't just call the two of them together, speak to them, and then let them go. No, that's dangerous. You don't just leave it like that. You have to go further to investigate, to see, question the man, query him, examine the man properly to see whether he's even mentally sound to say a thing like that, and try to understand what led to him saying that, whether there are trails that you can pick from to make a decision. But we joke with everything, so we just let them go. They go home and things happen, and it's wrong. Social warfare almost non-existent in our country. Like Hansen was saying, we lack shelter, so we leave it to NGOs. You know, Dr. Angela Jomna Boaje and co doing a fantastic job. We've left that space to them. But these are private people trying to help, and we've left the whole space to them. What is the state's role in that? What is social warfare doing about situations like this? A woman comes, she's stranded, the husband is tormenting her, so she cannot stay at home. She comes to the state. What assistance can the state give her? And because the state, in that sense, is toothless, the state now will try to put them back together, and they go back home. But because the real issues have not been solved, or the issues cannot be solved, they have to be separated, the things happen again, and sometimes people die. Was in Nigeria that a very popular singer was beaten to death, and things like that. So it is a problem, of course, not just in Ghana, perhaps an African problem, which I blame culture and religion for, you know, which must be addressed. That must be addressed. The state institutions must ensure that the perpetrators of this violence are punished. Instead of just dressing them up and letting them go home, let's punish them. So this gentleman, for example, I'm hoping that it will not be dealt with as a dosu matter, but it will be dealt with as a real criminal matter. This is causing harm. This is dehumanizing the person, and all of that. We need to go to the law and apply the law as it should be. You don't just touch somebody, beat somebody because you can beat the person. A bigger part of this problem really is also economic. A lot of the women feel the problem. They know they have to separate for a while. They know they have to do one or two things to get the situation resolved. But because they are economically not empowered, they keep quiet and they stay there, because when they leave, who will take care of them? And their families are also not empowered. When they leave, where are they going to be? And so that is a problem. So the state must deliberately begin to empower women. We've been talking about it, but the real implementation of that has been a problem. Let's deliberately empower women. Let's economically empower them. Let's socially empower them. Let's teach them how to speak up. Let's teach them how to solve problems, how to do things, how to make money. And once we do so, the men will sit up. And it's not everything you can throw at the woman, because you know the woman will not take it. Nobody can take things to a certain level. And it is wrong. It should not be happening. And again, society will say because of the children. Yes, because of the children. But now when you die, or if you die, who will take care of the children? So we really have to re-examine our values as society and as religious people, and see how we can help ourselves. This should not be happening. A couple of weeks ago, a similar thing happened. The guy bent his family, and then he went to hang himself. You know, and these things keep happening, but we don't seem to be, you know, confronting them head on, because we think we have bigger economic issues to deal with. But the family is the unit of society. If the family is not sound, society will not be sound.
Salam, thank you very much. You're still watching What the Papers Are Saying, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll go to Parliament.
Ghana, get ready. AgriFair 2025 is gonna be extraordinary this November. Fresh farm produce, fish, poultry, and livestock producers, this is your moment. Join us from Friday the 28th to Sunday the 30th of November 2025 at the A4 Sutherland Children's Park from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Come get your fresh produce, livestock, aquaculture, agro-inputs, machinery, and innovative agri-tech solutions. Plus, don't miss our AgriFair clinics on snail farming, poultry farming, fish farming, and piggery. Call to register, but hurry. Registration closes on Friday, the 21st of November, 2025. Expect seasoned kebabs, farm-to-table deals, and a buzzing farmers market experience. Call 0558-973-973 to book a stand right now and also to register for the clinics.
I like pork, so I will take pork. The protein ratio is 11.5.
AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation.
I must commend City FM and Channel One TV for putting this together. My only wish is that it's done, twice a month, 3 times a month.
I will say the fair has taken us beyond what we even imagined.
Really?
It has exposed us to the people of Accra.
The AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel One TV and 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Horticulture Business Platform, Development Bank Ghana, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, Gersal, Ghana Exim Bank, and Agri Impact.
You're welcome back. You're still watching what the papers are saying, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll go to Parliament now. And the Finance Minister, Dr. Kesa Datu-Forson, presented the budget for the 2026 fiscal year for the administration of John Dramani Mahama. One interesting thing that has come up in the course of debate is the decision of government to purchase some 2 new presidential jets and then 4 choppers for the Ghana military. This issue came up on the floor of Parliament. Members on the minority side, led by Samuel Abu Jinapo, Member of Parliament for the Damango constituency, raised issue that the government was spending close to 13 billion Ghana cedis to buy these military equipment for the Ghana Armed Forces and for the use of the President of the Republic. Let's go to the floor of the House and listen to the debate.
It's on the 2026 budget on the floor of Parliament on Wednesday. The Member of Parliament for Damango, Samuel Jinapo, stated that the government intends to procure presidential aircraft to the tune of $1.2 billion. This sparked strong opposition from the majority caucus.
The government, the speaker, is part of all these problems. The government wants to spend 1.2 billion United States dollars to purchase presidential debts. To purchase presidential debts. 1.2 billion Ghana cedis to purchase presidential debt.
The third item under Ministry of Defense is retooling of the Air Force. Retooling of the Air Force. And the figure there, CAPEX, is 2,532 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, how can you say that when you convert 2 billion, you get $1 billion? How can you convert 2 billion Ghana cedis and get $1 billion? Some 1.29 million, right?
You are dividing it by what? You are dividing it by what?
$1.29 billion. Your Boko mathematics is suspect. Majority leader, revisit your Boko mathematics.
Is it a good way of spending our taxes? Is it a prudent step to take in the circumstances we find ourselves in our country, where nurses are agitating for recruitment, where farmers are having a raw and bad deal across the length and breadth of our country, in the farming enclaves of our country, where rice is rotting in warehouses, where maize is not being purchased, and everybody is feeling very...
Samuel Abujina, the Member of Parliament for the Damongo constituency, ended that report by my colleague Ni Ayukwe Okai. Gentlemen, I'll start with you again, Hansen. Do we need a presidential jet? Let me answer that question because I was privileged enough to be a presidential correspondent for 8 years. And personally, Solomon Hansen, I feel we need a jet. I feel we need a presidential jet because one, it eases the president's travel, it cut down costs. I remember those days when we used to travel with President Akufo-Addo. There's always the advanced team, which consists of the media and the security and some, state protocol officials. So you take lead, and then the president will come after a day or two. But if we had all travel at a go, it cut down cost and a whole lot of this. So for me,
but wouldn't the state protocol and the advanced team still have to take the lead because it is standard practice that before the president touches down, some people
have to say,
so buying a presidential jet won't secure that.
Normally they rely mostly on the missions at the particular country the president is traveling to, and so they normally will go there and go and do the groundwork.
But I don't think the mission,
including
they have the requisite skill.
Oh yeah, they do. They are foreign officials, so they do. They have all of them. No, it's the same way as the practice.
If the advanced team is looking at security arrangements where the president
there's always a security attaché or a security setter within the various missions.
I think the advanced team's job is quite different. The advanced team will have to go do a few things. All right, you have to go see to this. Of course, the president has people he trusts. Every president does so. Before the American president comes to Ghana, there are people who come here, even though there is the embassy here, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest in Africa. It's always the case. People have to come and see a few things. People he trusts will have to go ahead and do a few things. Of course, that doesn't defeat the argument of the presidential jet, really. Given the recent tragedy we suffered as a country, the death of the 8th gentleman on the helicopter in the Ashanti region near Obuasi. I was thinking that will play on the minds of people. But here again, it's politics. In the past, NDC criticized the NPP when they wanted to purchase a presidential jet, and maybe they got some political capital out of that. So now it's the turn of the NDC in power, and NDC now being nationalistic wants to retool the armed forces and the presidency in terms of its travel or jets. Yeah. And it is now payback time. And that's how it's been. In the past, in Kufuor's time, it was the same. Even before that, J.H. Mensah and co. It was the practice. But I think we've come full circle, right? We've come full circle. You've done it to me, I've done it to you, you've done it to me, I've done it to you. Now we've come full circle. Now we've experienced a tragedy which made us lose 8 fine people. Omanibo Ama, Mutala and co. Very nice people, very competent people. We've lost them. We've not even replaced them yet. I thought the discussion should have been a bit influenced by the sentiments the country went through in those times. And what was the case? The presidential jet has been out of use. Yeah. It's been at repairs or at maintenance for the past 8 months. And it has come. They say some things are not quite well on it. Would the president travel with it? Me, I don't know. Who will travel with it? I don't know. And the question is, is it fit for purpose? If it is not fit for purpose by the technical people's reckoning, why do we want to let our president sit in there or sit on that plane? And again, I'm minded by the politics of it. But so see the argument this guy Jinapo was making, that at a time where farmers are struggling, farmers will always struggle. People will always struggle. Jesus said, "The poor you always have with you." But we have to have a national view of things sometimes. And I blame us as a people for coming to this point, because we have failed to craft for ourselves a national policy or a national plan, a national agenda. And if we had a national agenda, properly so-called, I believe all of these things would have had expression in them. So now somebody wants to buy it because the person opposed you the last time. Now it's time for you to expose it, even though you know that we need this. And the last time you wanted to purchase it, the argument you made for it about the same jet, those arguments, are not dead. Now, those arguments are being made by these people. We should see a bit of candor and honesty in our politics. If someone did it to you in the past and we call them out, and you are doing it today, we have to call you out. The president is key. If something happens to the president, the effect on the nation you can't quantify. When this country, when Professor Mills died, Professor Mills was a good man, but he was sick. We all knew he was sick. So at some point, people began to, program, or they began to, program their minds. Okay, this man is sick. Anything could happen. That unstated, thing was going on in people's minds, and he died. But look at how the country was, how the country became. How much more a healthy president, good, hale and hearty, just attending the program and dies in a plane crash or something like that happens. That will be devastating. It's happening in some countries. We don't want it to happen to Ghana with all our problems. And if we are saying that the solution to do that is to retool the armed forces and is to buy the presidential jets, let's think about it. If we cannot buy the two, one for short travel, one for long travel, if we cannot buy the two, let's have a conversation about it. In any case, I understand when you purchase it, it will come in about 4 years or within 4 years.
Within 3 to 4 years.
So by 7 December, 7 January, Mahama would have done 1 year. Yeah. He may not even have the opportunity to use it. And everybody knows that. They know that. But because of political capital, we are willing to put this, at the slaughter. Of course, it was done to them, and so they feel they have to do it. We have to stop at some point. And the politics, for example, of fuel prices, it used to be very fierce. It used to be very fierce, but now we've come full circle. We know that it's automatic adjustment. It is something that will happen every 2 weeks. So once in a while, we say it politically. But we know that it is not the fault of the political regime per se, apart from the various conditions of the economy, going the right way or the right places. Once it's something that we have accepted as a country to do, to deregulate, for example, in the case of energy, that is how it will be. We must come to a place where something that is a national matter, we attach a national view to it. I was disappointed by the things Jinapo was saying. He could have said other things to oppose the purchase of the planes, but not the kind of argument he was waging. I was expecting way better from him in terms of his argument against the presidential jet.
Would there ever be the right time to purchase a jet? Would there ever be?
If you look at the problems we face as a country, there won't be that time when everybody will come to a conclusion and say, oh, we need a presidential jet for the presidency. But it is a need that we ought to go into. However, I think that we also have to call out politicians when they exhibit double standards. My point being that in just about 6 months ago, the same politicians today who are saying they want to buy 2 aircrafts had argued that it was fit for purpose. Have we been updated on what happened between then and now that has made the presidential jet so not fit for purpose to the extent that they now want to purchase a new presidential jet? If it is the case that the jet at the time was indeed not fit for purpose, but for political reasons, they indicated that it was fit for purpose, then a question that I usually ask myself becomes relevant. Should I be worried when a politician is giving his own taste of his medicine? Because then blatantly you knew that this was not good, but for political reasons you pushed the idea that it was good. And now that you have gained political power, you quickly want to turn around and say, oh, the thing that I said it was good, no, it is not good again, so you need to buy. When the other side also now decides to treat you to your own attitude, I think that to a large extent, you brought it on yourself. But obviously the arguments that exist here, the conversations about priority is important. And the matter about the politics of revenge, that they will do at the chamber. But when we talk about issues of priority, it's not a matter of saying that solve all the job problems or solve all the road infrastructure problems before you buy a jet. In the midst of these problems, you can still show that it is of high priority to get a presidential jet for the president. And I think that the government currently haven't come out boldly saying that they are going to buy the presidential jet. We need to argue more and explain more why, even in our current situation, why, with respect to all the problems we have in our country, buying a presidential jet is of priority. And the point I make is that for a lot of Ghanaians, they may be privy to the local and domestic politics, but the international politics and how the president travels sometimes are beneficial to the Ghanaian populace in themselves. It's something that I think government communicators perhaps may avert their minds to and educate the Ghanaian populace to take them along in buying these presidential jets, and particularly in retooling the Ghana Armed Forces. I indicated last week that I, for one, is happy that they have come out clearly on what they want to do. And if you realize from the videos, there's a conversation about the mathematics game and what the cost is. Eventually, you get to understand that the plan is to spread the retooling across the 4-year term, which takes the cost of about $1.2 billion, which Abu Jinapor was referring to. The NDC government has been open, at least on this level, about what they want to do. I've heard the former defense minister say, well, come and apologize and say that we got it wrong in opposition when we said the jet was in good condition and there was no need to buy a new jet, because he says he supports it in principle as he did in government. And so at the end of the day, I do not care whether or not the NDC will come out to apologize. But the fact remains that their stance in opposition from now, their stance in opposition is different from what they have now. And there's a need to carry Ghanaians on why that stance has changed. I believe that buying the presidential jet is important. At this particular point, we need it. But to carry Ghanaians along with this decision, certain things ought to be made clear. Was it true indeed that the presidential jet 6 months ago was fit for purpose? And what between that period and now has led to the deterioration of its state? And again, a proper presentation or explanation on the importance or the overriding benefits that the Ghanaian people are going to get if we buy the presidential jet. And finally, from me on this, there are certain areas that we've always said we do not need to play politics with. And the safety of the president is one of it. Yeah. The earlier we learn to restrict politics to certain things. Now, in almost all aspects, we used to say, oh, don't add politics to education. This person will come 3 years, this person will come 4 years, then 3 years HS, double track. In almost everything about education that we said, let this be free of politics, we've added a bit of politics. The president's safety, we are here discussing this because we politicize issues around the president's safety. Not to say that at the time there were not certain genuine concerns that were raised. Obviously, there were genuine concerns that was it the rightful or the prudent measure to take in, as we were made to know or believe, that the presidency was chartering private jets for the president? Were there not cheaper options available that the president could have opted for? These were genuine conversations. But ultimately, when the government came and said it wanted to buy a presidential jet, the matter was made too political and partisan that it didn't allow for genuine conversations. And it's the outcome of what we are seeing now. I hope that after the minority now have been able to do their own revenge politics now at this debate level, going forward, the debate will be more frank and patriotic in itself to let the Ghanaian people come to a realization and understanding of why indeed we need the presidential jet.
I say, thank you very much. You're still watching. You have okay, final bite on this.
You see, a number of things. I mean, Hansen makes a good point that about 6 months ago, we said that the plane was fit for purpose. But you see, things happen in countries, in the lives of countries, and those things change views, and those things change their countries forever. The event of August 6th, is it August 6th, when the crash happened? That was a very important turning point in a country's life. And who was even saying that the presidential jet was fit for purpose? I think Omani Boama and Co were part of the people who said the assessment, blah, blah. They made those points. But that event, and in fact, there was the talk around the time that the president was to attend that event. And so if the president had attended, that was the helicopter he would have used. We don't know whether he would have used it or not, he would have used another one. But it could have been anything. You understand? So that event and people thinking through, the country thinking through, etc., may now be more open to want to have a conversation around changing the fleet, especially now that we know that the presidential jet, properly so-called, has been out of use and has been at repairs for about 8 months. Yeah. And so given the history, the immediate history of this crash, we are still recovering from it. We've not even had a replacement yet of those people yet. Defense minister, we don't have a substantive defense minister, substantive environment, we don't have them yet. Which means we are still there. We are still really under those pressures. It's a good time. I mean, good in quotes. It's an opportune time to begin to have that conversation, especially if there is a plan to it. If there's a plan to it. So 6 months ago, it may not have been very necessary because we would have thought that such events were far off or far away from us. But the event of August 6th taught us or has taught us that anything can happen. So you must begin taking something seriously. There are things you want to manage, like we do in Ghana. Your car is having, you hear some sound and things, you think you can carry you just sit inside and go. But you can't do so for some things. You know, so events happen. And you see, there are precursor events. We talk about the past, you know, and there was a lot of talk about private jets, you know, chartering private jets, etc., in a certain economic context. That is important. There will always not be an economically right time to have a conversation about buying a presidential jet. But it's also important to reflect the times. It was also not Dominic Nitu who told us that the president, even on long travels, on the kind of, I mean, this presidential jet will not be able to freshen up, and people, I mean, began to use the word bath, that the president will be bathing in the sky. Was it not the one who told us that? So you see, the way we communicate and the way we reflect the sentiments of the people also counts in making the people buy into what we want to do. It's very important. So, for example, prior to that, a lot of presidents use commercial flights. We find it sometimes disgraceful, but it's okay. People do it. In Ghana, we've done it for a long time. Akufo did it. Everybody did it. But migrating to presidential jets, and at the time, we understand it was the top of the range, so many thousands of dollars per hour. Those things were not really rebutted, you know, seriously. So that becomes what we know. And in the midst of all that hula baloo, you table a request to purchase aeroplanes in a certain economic context. That is difficult to swallow than the immediate history we've had, than somebody trying to reflect the economic reality, etc., and now showing you a plan that this is what I want to do, and I want to spread it over this period of time. So I think that we will abhor the politics about it, but the context of the two scenarios, this one particularly marked by the tragic event of the crash, make the two situations very different. That is why now people don't even think we should play politics with it. Now people have resolved that it is not a situation or such tragedy is not far from Ghana, because a similar one has happened and it could have been anybody. It could have been a top man.
So watching what the papers are saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. Gentlemen, we got some few minutes to check out of here. Let's do the last one. The President of the Republic, John Mahama, says when Parliament finally passes the anti-LGBT law, fast track, he will sign it to become law. This was at that meeting with the Christian Council of Ghana, the Jubilee House, here in Accra.
Well, I mean, this is obviously the bill was a private member's bill. Even though you would want to stress and say that it was a bipartisan bill, because then you look at the composition at the time, you have Reverend Intim Forger, who was a member of who is a member of the NPP. But majority of the people who sponsored the bill, advocated for it and pushed for it were members of the NDC. And so obviously the president, perhaps having conferred with them on their essence, or the essence for which they will push the bill, it's open to signing it. Obviously, when you look at the conversation on the moral aspect of it, then you agree with the essence of the bill, because when then you look at the morality of it, if you look at the major religions and even our culture and ethnic background, such practices are not allowed. But the fundamental issues that a lot of people have with the bill had to do with the restrictions on the rights of people, the restrictions that it sought to even place on academia and decent voices was one that people had issues with. The bill is going to, we are told that it's been relayed before Parliament to go through the stages. I mean, having gone through a first stage, the expectation is that this time round, if Parliament so wants to, it will be done in such a manner that the basic rights of Ghanaians will not be infringed upon. And the point ought to be made forcefully that you cannot just go and be attacking people just because of your perception of what they do or even your views on what they do. It is absolutely not right to do so, and it is not one that anybody at all can endorse. I mean, if the representatives of the people wish to make certain things, criminalize certain acts, right, it is in their power to do so. But the point that they are being urged on is that the people's right ought to be...
But do you feel this bill will be passed before this Parliament, takes a break?
That's before 2028?
Yeah, I mean before this sitting.
No, I don't think it will be given. It will go through as swift as.
Well, there are many people who are also doubting if indeed we'll ever have such a bill here in Ghana. There are many people who have raised.
There are those who believe that the current legal regime, as we have it, deals with some of these activities already, because then there are offenses for what have been described as unnatural carnal knowledge. And there's a school of thought that says allow those laws to deal with the situation rather than bringing a law that, for instance, looks at cross-dressing, right? Obviously, or looking at a law that seems to target how people appear in their physique of a sort. These are some of the problems that people have with such a bill.
Hansi, thank you. Salam, you ever think we'll have this law in this country?
Well, I hope so.
Considering our previous experience.
No, I hope so. I think the previous experience was not managed well. The previous experience was not managed well. Nancy makes a point about it appearing bipartisan at some point. I think that was the whole idea. But the government of the day unfortunately got itself boxed and pushed to the wall, and it now appeared that they were against the bill, you know, and all the things that happened. Finance minister writing that panic, you know, what was it, a letter, you know, about the economic implications and all of that. Who cares, really? I mean, we can't be everything to every people or everybody. We must choose and decide who we want to be. So if this is what we want per our culture and values, that is what it should be. We must stand for something. We can't just, I mean, we must stand for something. My child can't come from school and come and tell me that, you know, she feels like a male, and that is it. We must have our values. What is the definition of a man? What is the definition of a woman? The definition of gender is assigned or given at birth. It's biological. We know that. You don't grow up, or you don't come and tell me that you feel like a man when you're a woman, so it's your right, and so we should allow you to do it. No, we don't do those things. That is not where we come. If we allow those things, very soon there will be other more serious things people will now claim rights to. People will say, okay, I want to now sleep with animals. Now it sounds very absurd. So no, the animal cannot give consent. But when we get there, there will be a defense for that, which will sound sensible or reasonable when we swallow things like this. I'm not for anybody's rights being trampled upon, but there are rights, but there are societal norms. There are things we allow in societies. And the bill must be made such that it carries everybody along. I'm not for people attacking people. No, that is wrong. So if somebody attacks somebody, that is wrong. The person must be disciplined, or the person must be punished when you go against the law. So yes, the law must be passed, and I'll be disappointed the president doesn't pass it. And I have so much faith in Speaker Babi on this. Especially
well, he said the number of occasions that he did, he will ensure that it's passed.
To the passage of it. And Sam George and Co, who were loud at the time, of course, now I see they are busier, but they need to also give some time to it and ensure that it gets passed.
Salam, thank you very much. That's Salam Adonu and Hansen Ajimai. My name is Sami Wiafere. Brought you another exciting edition of What the Papers Are Saying that came to you live from our studios here in Accra. So we'll come your way again. May the good Lord be with us all.